Hey y'all, this is Tamika, the face behind Hey HR. So listen, you already paid for this expensive exam. You already studied your butt off. You already neglected all your family and friends for months on end. And now what happens? You took this test and you what? You passed. Now it's time to tell your boss all about it. If you want to hear how to tell your boss that I'm certified, then keep watching. So I only have 3 quick tips to tell you guys how to move forward in this great process in your career. You now have these letters that you can add behind your name. This is telling everyone from the people you know to the strangers on the street that I'm an expert in my field. Even for those who might not know what those letters mean, guess what? Now they're gonna ask you,
what are those letters for?
And that shows people that I'm dedicated to my career. I am passionate about my career, and this is my journey that I'm going on from here to the end of my career. Sounds all exciting, sounds all great, but some of us are in positions where it might be a little bit difficult to talk about this with our supervisor. Maybe we've never even taken the time to tell them that we want to go this extra route. Maybe we have a strained relationship, or maybe they're so busy all the time that we really didn't know what to say or when to say it. Or maybe now with this whole virtual world, you guys have been so far apart that it just slipped your mind. But I am going to tell you that it's super duper easy. The first thing that I want to tell you to do is just tell your supervisor, hey, I want to have a meeting with you. I probably would just go ahead and send it in an email. That's probably easiest these days. And say, hey, I wanted to see if we can have a small meeting. I wanted to tell you about a milestone that I've recently crossed. And I wanted to see if you had about 15 minutes of your time that we can spend to talk about this one venture. You know, make it sound simple. You know it's a big deal to you, but don't make it sound all crazy because you don't want to go ahead and give away all your excitement before you meet with them. So just say that one little simple thing, meet with them, see what time they give you or what have you. You only need a few minutes. Now, I probably would suggest sending this email and having this meeting before your test date. I probably would suggest having this meeting even before you confirm the date. You just don't know what may happen. I mean, some of you guys are super comfortable with your supervisors and they just may be that type that you can talk to almost like a best friend, right? Now, this is also your time that you probably want to see if there's any financial assistance that the company can give you. I mean, even if you don't ask, if you have a great leader, they're probably going to tell you.
That budget has already been made. The continuing education money has already been allocated.
And I get it, we're in a pandemic right now, but we're not always going to be in a pandemic. And maybe we planned already and the pandemic has not stopped these funds. So at this moment, you never know until you ask. So another thing that I think you should definitely do is before you start studying, make sure that you meet with your supervisor, even if this is a separate meeting. Maybe you couldn't tell them at the time when you initially did it. You definitely want to let them know that you have a final study schedule and that you're strained for time. So even if they don't offer that leniency in your schedule, maybe you can ask for it at this time. You want to make sure that you have enough time allocated so that you're not rushing, you're not exhausted, you're not overwhelmed for your exam. It's only the healthy thing to do, especially if you want to be successful in taking this exam. Alright, so this is really the big part on what we really wanted to talk about from the beginning of this video. You already took this test, you know the results. Okay, I get it. Maybe they weren't as favorable as you liked them, so you didn't do well. Don't feel bad. I didn't pass my first time either. So when I didn't pass, luckily I had a boss who was super duper supportive. She was super helpful, so it wasn't hard to really say. I mean, actually, she looked like she felt worse than I did, but that was easy for me. The second time it was a little bit more difficult because my director and I, we really didn't have that great of a relationship. And I will say I felt awkward telling her. I was very new at that organization. I had only been there a few months, so it's definitely something that I didn't talk about ahead of time. I didn't know if there was money allocated. I didn't know how they would feel about it. I didn't know how it would be received. And again, I'll just reiterate that me and her, we didn't have the best relationship, so it was weird. Another thing is that I had actually sat for the shrm-scp exam and I passed it. She had a shrm-scp certificate and she had gotten that because she had already had the HRCI certificate and she literally just took watched the 5-minute PowerPoint to get it. So I didn't know how that was going to come across, especially because I have a double master's degree and she has a bachelor's degree. So it was just weird. I don't know if everyone experiences this, but in the corporate world for African Americans, it is very uncomfortable to go and tell your boss about something where you know they might take it as being too confident. I've heard that in the workplace. Or even arrogance. I mean, you can say it as humbly as you like, but there are just some folks, and maybe this is just my experience because I live in the South in South Carolina, but it's just things like that just haven't been received well throughout my career. There are very few that are transparently supportive, like in front of others. I'll get support when we're alone, but not in front of others. A lot of things happen, so it was just weird at that time. If you're the person that didn't do well with this exam and you failed it, if they don't know about it, if you didn't have that meeting, you didn't tell them, hey, I'm taking this exam, da da da. No need in telling anybody. I mean, at the end of the day, guess what? The only thing that you're gonna do at that time is just make it a more weird conversation. But if they're aware that you were taking this test and that you failed, then definitely just let them know that I didn't get the score that I wanted, but I'm definitely going to try again. You don't want them to think that you gave up. And if you're not going to try again, I mean, you don't have to say that, but I would just let them know that that portion of your life is kind of on temporary hold and just see how it's received. I mean, if there's nothing else more to it, then the meeting is adjourned, right? But if you are that person who passed and who's elated and excited about it, then you definitely want to tell your boss in an email. I probably would suggest it unless you have a really good relationship with them. If you have a really good relationship with them, then let them send a company-wide email. Congratulate you on this huge success because it is a very big success. The second thing that you want to do is you want to go into your email and you want to change your signature because you want to add those credentials at the end of your name. At this point, everybody should know that you're SHRM certified, you're HRCI certified, that you're an expert in your field. And guess what? That's something that you can use immediately. You don't have to wait to start using those credentials. You can use those immediately. Now, maybe your supervisor is doing this for you. After your meeting with your supervisor where you've given them your results and tell them that you passed, they should have a department meeting to make the department aware of it. Or it could just be that company-wide email, that department-wide email. But definitely you want to make sure that your colleagues are aware. Maybe you have some colleagues that want to sit as well and you can be a reference or motivation for them. So the next thing that you want to do is you want to make sure to get updated business cards. If you are the person that uses business cards throughout your career, then you definitely want to make sure to have those updated so you can start passing out business cards with your credentials on the end of your name. So just like that email, just like your business cards, if you have a tag with your name outside the door or any signage inside your office or any signage anywhere around the office, if there are other folks that have their credentials there and that's something that your company does, then definitely make sure to add your credentials to that sign as well. Now, I think the biggest thing at this moment that you definitely want to make sure is that you have this documented in your performance review. This is where you should be getting paid more money because you bring in more skills. This is where you should automatically be recognized and documented in your record in case you should ever need that performance review again, or even if you just want to use it as a point of reference for your next job. Definitely have that documented in your performance review. It's for you and the company so that everyone knows that at this particular point in your career, you achieved this successful goal. Okay, so last but not least, what do you want to do after you get certified? You definitely want to make sure that you start getting those recertification credits. If you're like,
Tamika, you know what? I took the test and I completely forgot about that.
well, you don't want to forget that if you don't get these 60 credits every 3 years, then guess what happens? You're going to be in a jam and have to sit for that hard test all over again. Do you want to do that again?
I don't think so.
So I say get recertification credits. If you are confused about where to get recertification credits from, then definitely check out this video. It's going to tell you all about where you can get recertification credits. And honestly, I end up getting recertified way before my 3-year period even ends. It's just that easy. Start doing it immediately and you won't have to fret in those last couple months of that 3rd year. And as soon as you start earning those credits, jump onto the portal and start uploading those credits. You don't want to sit around and then have to figure out like,
Where did I put this? Let me search my email.
the minute you get the certificate with the code, definitely run and put it into the portal. That should be your first thing that you do as soon as you get those credits, however you may earn them. Well, I thank y'all so much for coming to another Hey HR video. If you guys are sitting here and you're like, Tamika, this is all great to tell me about what to do after I become certified, but I haven't even gotten to the point where I've actually taken this test yet, then check out this video about how to study for the exam. If you're like, great, it sounds awesome that I can go ahead and study for it, but I just found out that it costs a whole bunch of money that I don't have, then guess what? You can check out this video on how to pay for your certification exam. But either way, you can do it. If you're like, I just don't know if this is for me, I don't know if this is the appropriate time or what have you, then definitely check out my video on the end. It's going to tell you all about how I became SHRM certified. As I said earlier in this video, it wasn't on the first time. I failed the first time. I went back and I took it another time. I took some time off in between. I took a few years off before I even resat for this test. And I was so happy that I did that. I gained more experience and was totally ready to sit for the exam at that time. I just thank you so much for coming by to my channel. If by chance anything intrigued your interest, then definitely hit the like button. If you want to see more of what I have and you don't want to miss what's coming up next, then definitely subscribe and hit the bell.